economy around.
Senator Obama, do you think Senator Clinton can win?
Absolutely, and I've said so before. But I, too, think that I'm the better candidate, and I don't think that surprises anybody. Let me just pick up on a couple of things that Senator Clinton said, though, because during the course of the last few days, she's said I'm elitist, out of touch, condescending. Let me be absolutely clear. It'd be pretty hard for me to be condescending towards people of faith, since I'm a person of faith and have done more than most other campaigns in reaching out specifically to people of faith, and have written about how Democrats make an error when they don't show up and speak directly to people's faith, because I think we can get those votes, and I have in the past. The same is true with respect to gun owners. I have large numbers of sportsmen and gun owners in my home state, and they have supported me precisely because I have listened to them, and I know them well. So the problem that we have in our politics, which is fairly typical, is that you take one person's statement, if it's not properly phrased, and you just beat it to death. And that's what Senator Clinton's been doing over the last 4 days. And I understand that. That's politics, and I expect to have to go through this process. But I do think it's important to recognize that it's not helping that person who's sitting at the kitchen table, who is trying to figure out how to pay the bills at the end of the month. And Senator Clinton's right. She has gone through this. I recall when, back in 1992, when she made a statement about how, what do you expect, should I be at home baking cookies? And people attacked her for being elitist and this and that. And I remember watching that on TV and saying, well, that's not who she is. That's not what she believes. That's not what she meant. And I'm sure that that's how she felt as well. But the problem is that that's the kind of politics that we've been accustomed to, and I think Senator Clinton learned the wrong lesson from it, because she's adopting the same tactics. What the American people want are not distractions. They want to figure out, how are we actually going to deliver on health care? How are we going to deliver better jobs for people? How are we going to improve their incomes? How are we going to send them to college? That's what we have to focus on. And yes, they are in part frustrated and angry, because this is what passes for our politics instead of figuring out how do we build coalitions to actually move things forward.
Senator Clinton, before we move on, do you want to do a brief response?
I do. Well, first of all, I want to be very clear. My comments were about your remarks, and I think that's important, because it wasn't just me responding to them. It was people who heard them, people who felt as though they were aimed at their values, their quality of life, the decisions that they have made. Now, obviously, what we have to do as Democrats is make sure we get enough votes to win in November. And as George just said, the Republicans, who are pretty shrewd about what it takes to win, certainly did jump on the comments. But what's important here is what we each stand for, and what our records are, and what we have done over the course of our lives to try to improve the circumstances of those who deserve to live up to their own potential, to make the decisions that are right for them and their families. And I think year after year, for now 35 years, I have a proven record of results. And what I'm taking into this campaign is my passion for empowering people, for giving people the feeling that they can make a better future for themselves. And I think it's important that that starts from a base of respect and connection in order to be able to get people to follow you and believe that you will lead them in the better direction.
Senator Obama, since you last debated, you made a significant speech in this building on the subject of race, and your former pastor, the Reverend Jeremiah Wright. And you've said subsequent to giving that speech that you never heard him say from the pulpit the kinds of things that so have offended people. But more than a year ago, you rescinded the invitation to him to attend the event when you announced your candidacy. He was to give the invocation. And according to the Reverend, I'm quoting him, you said to him, you can get kind of rough in sermons. So what we've decided is that it's best for you not to be out there in public. I'm quoting the Reverend. But what did you know about his statements that caused you to rescind that invitation? And if you knew he got rough in sermons, why did it take you more than a year to publicly disassociate yourself from his remarks?
Well, understand that I hadn't seen the remarks that ended up playing on YouTube repeatedly. This was a set of remarks that had been quoted in Rolling Stone magazine, and we looked at them, and I thought that they would be a distraction since he had just put them forward. But Charlie, I've discussed this extensively. Reverend Wright is somebody who made controversial statements, but they were not of the sort that we saw that offended so many Americans. And that's why I specifically said that these comments were objectionable. They're not comments that I believe in, and I disassociated myself with them. What I also said was the church and the body of Reverend Wright's work over the course of 30 years were not represented in those snippets that were shown on television, and that the church has done outstanding work in ministries on HIV/AIDS, prison ministries, providing people with the kind of comfort that we expect in our churches. And so what I think I tried to do in the speech here at the Constitution Center was speak to a broader context, which is that there is anger in the African-American community that sometimes gets expressed, whether in the barber shop or in the church. That's true not just in the African-American community, that's true in other communities as well. But what we have the opportunity to do is to move beyond it. And that's what I think my candidacy represents. And Senator Clinton mentioned earlier that we have to connect with people. That's exactly what we've done throughout this campaign. The reason we've attracted new people into the process, the reason we've generated so much excitement, the reason that we have been so successful in so many states across the country, bridging racial lines, bridging some of the old divisions, is because people recognize that unless we do, then we're not going to be able to deliver on the promises that people hear every 4 years, every 8 years, every 12 years. And it's my job in this campaign to try to move beyond some of those divisions, because when we are unified, there is nothing that we cannot tackle.
Senator Clinton, I'm sorry, go ahead. Senator Clinton, let me follow up, but let me add to that. You have said that he would not have been my pastor. And you said that you have to speak out against those kinds of remarks, and implicitly by getting up and moving, and I presume you mean out of the church. There are 8,000 members of Senator Obama's church, and we have heard the inflammatory remarks of Reverend Wright, but so too have we heard testament to many great things that he did. Do you honestly believe that 8,000 people should have gotten up and walked out of that church?
I was asked a personal question, Charlie, and I gave a personal answer. Obviously, one's choice of church and pastor is rooted in what one believes is what you're seeking in church and what kind of fellowship you find in church. But I have to say that for Pastor Wright to have given his first sermon after 9/11 and to have blamed the United States for the attack which happened in my city of New York would have been just intolerable for me. And therefore, I would have not been able to stay in the church. And maybe it's, just again, a personal reflection that regardless of whatever good is going on, and I have no reason to doubt that a lot of good things were happening in that church. You get to choose your pastor. You don't choose your family, but you get to choose your pastor. And when asked a direct question, I said I would not have stayed in the church.